Hello, this is Jason from thrivingtherapies.com, and I have someone here, a client who's been working with me for the past while, and she's getting on absolutely amazing. So I'm sure you're looking forward to hearing about how she's doing. This is Els. So Els, would you like to introduce yourself and let us know what you've been using brain retraining for?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm actually living in Belgium, close to Brussels actually, having a family, 2 adult daughters, a great husband, and actually I've followed the course on brain retraining because in the past I've actually had chronic fatigue.
Yep.
And I was also dealing with anxiety, panic attacks.
Okay. And how long had that been going on?
Some secondary depression as well, actually.
Okay. And how long has those issues been going on?
Well, actually, it's been going on for 6 years. Yeah. So 6 years of, well, I would say at my worst, when I was really at my worst, I was like bedbound. I could not get out of bed. And I was doing lots of symptoms. I couldn't, I had difficulties in being with the daylight, etc. So that was like at my worst, but I had like periods where it was worse. And then I had like periods where it was a bit better. So, but on average, I come actually from a very severe situation, a very dark period, I would call it, in my life. Yeah, so being bedbound, that was the worst. Not being able to move, like, at my worst, I was able to move like 20 meters, not more than that.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
All right, and what's it like now?
Oh my goodness. It's a completely different life,
Yeah.
I'm living life to the fullest again.
Excellent.
There's been so much change.
So what kind of changes have you noticed? Yeah.
As we just had a chat before, and I just mentioned it. My list is massive. It's a big and large list.
Excellent, fantastic.
Going from physical changes, been going through a lot of mental and emotional changes, all nice positive changes. And so just to mention a couple. For me, one of the most important changes is that I was really having this chronic stress response in my body.
Okay.
So I was in a state of tension all of the time for like 6 years. And that was for me really a major win, thanks to the brain retraining, to be able to really calm my down. Sorry for my English.
Yeah.
So to really calm myself down, to and to it's kind of amazing to no longer be in that chronic stress state, but actually to be able to live in a normal, relaxed body again.
Yeah, which sounds like such a simple thing, but like it's
exactly
for someone going through chronic fatigue or other issues, it feels absolutely amazing. Feels like you've won the lotto or something.
Exactly. That's the kind of feeling I'm having right now. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like, yes, I've got
awesome. Fantastic.
That's for me, for sure, that's my biggest win, be able to live in a body that is just functioning normally.
And what's your energy levels like now?
Sorry?
What's your energy levels like and all of that as well?
There's been big changes there as well.
Excellent.
In terms of, I think, before I started training, my energy levels were like at I would say, there was no consistency.
Okay.
So I could have one day like a 3 out of 10 in terms of energy, and the other day I would have like a 5 out of 10. Occasionally I would go to a 7 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
And, right now I feel so much consistency, and I would say on average I'm at a 8 out of 10.
Excellent.
And
All right.
I'm still making, progress. So
yes, fantastic.
and that's just great to have that sustainable, consistent flow of energy. To feel that again, that is really, it's priceless. It's
absolutely
amazing.
priceless.
Yeah.
And so, like, what were some of the main kind of symptoms that you overcame?
Yeah.
Apart from the fatigue.
Yeah, I think one of the main symptoms I was really struggling with was everything that had to do with food.
Food, yeah. Sensitivities. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it was, for me, that was like a big one. I was doing like a lot of bloating, I had like IBS.
IBS, yeah.
So, and so I did all kinds of diets, going, I think in general, my relationship with food was not very healthy. I was, in some periods, I was like overeating, having sugar cravings, because of that continuous stress response, I think. So there were sugar cravings, and I was like overeating, eating lots of fast sugar. That was one period, but then in another period, I got into very strict diets. Cutting out gluten, tomatoes, eggs, milk, dairy. I cut out all of the sugar, and I got some improvement of that. But I didn't get to the root cause of the problem. So there was some improvement when I was doing that strict diet, but it didn't feel right,
Yes, I did that as well in the past. It felt like when I did that, it felt like I couldn't eat anything. It's like, what can I eat now? It's like,
exactly, and somehow that was giving me stress.
Yes.
Subconsciously, somewhere subconsciously, I thought by doing the strict diet, I would really be able to heal myself. So I was very strict on it, but it meant like also in terms of my social life. When visiting a friend, it was always like food was a stressful thing for me. It had become a stressful thing, which was actually not well, to some extent, yes, it helped, because it's always good to have a healthy food pattern. But in my case, it really became
a limitation. Yeah.
A limitation, which was no longer healthy. And I was really struggling with that. And so for me, thanks to the brain retraining, I'm able to eat all of it now. And,
excellent. How fast did you notice the changes with that as well?
It was really going fast. I was surprised. I think, when we did like when we did the first exercise until the moment I was able to really reintroduce gluten, tomatoes, those were the two foods that I reintegrated at first, and so it was like 2 weeks. The moment I started doing the retraining with you, and what really helped me was, you did this audio recording, and I was able to listen to it and to really kind of absorb.
Yeah, to make the retraining happen.
Yeah, absorb it every minute of the day somehow. So I did like listening to the audio like 3 times a day.
Excellent. Okay.
And so it was like a very consistent way of retraining myself. So in 2 weeks, I was able to basically eat anything.
Excellent. Well done.
Yeah. I'm really, that was like really a big win for me. Yeah.
Did you ever expect that it could be that easy?
No. Honestly, when I started doing the training with you, I felt like intuitively I knew I had to do this training.
Okay.
But honestly, at the same time, there was like this little voice inside, this little critical voice telling me, "Are you sure? You know, it can't go that fast. You know, that's not possible." So there was a little critic
Yeah.
in me. And honestly, it did go that fast. So, and
Excellent.
yeah, I was, well, I think I was quite amazed at that point in time, but now looking backwards, I can see why it could go that quickly and
Yes.
so easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. So I had the same issue. I had like the digestive intolerances, and it was just over 10 years for me, all those food intolerances that I had. And it was mainly gluten, but it was also like lots of other foods and anything artificial, anything like that. My body was reacting to it, and it was very extreme reaction in my body as well. I was getting like mouth ulcers and super bad headaches, like crushing headaches. It kind of felt like I'd been poisoned. And
Right.
what I realized what was actually happening was it wasn't the foods at all. It was how my unconscious mind and my body was reacting to it. It was viewing certain foods as a threat to my body, and then I was so convinced that I couldn't have those foods because I had like time after time the same experience of when I
Right.
tried to have those foods. That it became a belief in my unconscious mind,
Yeah.
which was influencing my immune system, and my immune system was reacting to the foods. Even just I imagined eating those foods, like I was just thinking about eating bread one day, and I realized that my stomach was starting to churn, even just thinking about it. And I realized, okay, that's an association. My brain was associating certain feelings with that food. And then I thought, you know what? Why not start to retrain that? I was just reading a little bit about neurolinguistic programming, and they weren't talking about diet or nutrition, but I decided, right, I'm just going to give it a go and see how I got on with that. And even after trying all kinds of diets like you, I have been vegan for 2.5 years and trying everything, all kinds of extreme things, and juice fasting, water fasting, 10 billion multi-strain probiotics, all of that. None of it had worked. But when I did that brain retraining, literally just overnight, literally in one day, I was able to eat bread again and enjoy it with no symptoms at all. So I never expected the changes would happen that fast, but that's how powerful our brain is. It had, it can create all kinds of things
as well.
Excellent. And so what other kind of changes have you noticed as well? So all kinds of awesome things.
Yeah, actually, the other one is I was actually living like until 2 months ago, I was like living in a quite stiff body, body of with some level of tension, serious level of tension. And so before I got ill, I was doing yoga, just because I loved it, not because I wanted to recover with yoga, but it was even before I came ill, I was doing yoga. And so I started doing yoga again. I thought, I felt, I think already as from week 1 in the training, I felt a shift in my body. And I started gradually building up my yoga practice again. And that was wonderful. I was like, after being in the training for 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, I felt like, I came, if I'd have to score it, I was like doing a very stiff body. I would, in terms of stiffness, I would give it like a 8 out of 10. I was like doing lots
of stress response.
Yeah, lots of stress response. It's all kind of linked together. There's a stress response for doing tension, and tension creates stiffness in the muscles. And I was, I lowered it. I think after 3 weeks, I had like only, I had like only 2 out of 10 in terms of tension, so which is great. So I was like really living in a different body, and that felt so amazing because I was before I got ill, I was doing a yoga practice every morning, And I, you know, after 2 to 3 weeks in the training, I was able to do my yoga again every morning.
Excellent.
And
Fantastic.
that was, again, it felt so good, you know, to
Amazing
be able
feeling.
to live in a comfortable body, to live in a you know, in a supple body. You say that in English, like a supple body.
Yeah,
Yeah,
supple muscles, loose, relaxed.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, a relaxed body. And I was, yeah, it was amazing. And, you know, you know, because of COVID times, we got in lockdown here in Belgium. And so unfortunately, I was not able to go to the gym, because if not, I would have gone to the gym as well, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was able to hike with my family. And
Excellent.
so they're all in very good shape. And I was never able to join them,
Oh,
because they
wow,
were
until
like
now.
doing hikes for 2 hours.
Uh-huh.
Not very difficult hikes, but anyway, you know, when
2 hours
you
is 2 hours.
2 hours is 2 hours exactly. And
Excellent.
so I was able to join them. So,
Wonderful.
and that was like, I think before that I already could walk, like I could do a hike like for half an hour to an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So that was already my level, but that was one thing. But then going for 2 hours hiking, then coming home, and then having the day after that, normally I would have to you know, to feel,
To balance it, yeah, to
yeah,
rest the
exactly.
rest of the
And
day
I
or
was like, okay, no balance needed anymore. So I was just, for me it was like hiking 2 hours was now for me a relaxing exercise somehow.
yeah, because you're maintaining that level of relaxation in your body
Yeah.
while you're doing
Yes,
things.
yes, and no stiffness at all the day after, which was something I really had before. So
Yeah.
when I was you know, before the retraining,
Mhm.
I was like literally
Symptoms and payback and
one
stuff.
hour, 1 hour hike, and then I would have to come back home, go like lay down in you know, in bed for like 10 minutes, quarter of an hour at least, so that I could, you know, calm down my system.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I don't need that anymore. So
Yeah, because you got that sustainable wellness. How
yeah,
incredible does that feel?
it's just great. This is
Massive
the
high
word.
five.
Oh, high five, yes. And again, there as well, I was amazed by how you know, how quickly it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Once you make that, this it feels like there's something. A friend of mine, because I was discussing it with him as well, and a friend of mine, he called it the switch.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that image, because it's as if there's somehow, because you
Clicking to
do
wellness. Yeah.
there's somehow a switch going on.
Mhm.
And it's like, because I've lived for quite a long period in my life in a quite healthy body, I would say. And so it's what you say, it's that remembered wellness. Somehow it's still
Yes.
in your system. And
Mm-hmm.
it's as if you just put on the switch neurologically, and in terms of your
Yep. And
brain.
your body follows suit then. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's as if all of a sudden it's, oh yes, I'm able to give the right messages again from my brain towards
Yes.
my body. And
Excellent.
that is really, I mean,
That's natural wellness. Yeah, we're designed to be well. Yeah, so
yes,
it's just
exactly.
about helping our brain to use our body in a
Yeah,
totally different way, in a natural, healthy way, to unlock that wellness that we have. So like, I think in the past for me, it was like the stress response and all of the patterns and things that I was struggling with. Plus, I was pushing myself way too much. I was always achieving, wanting to push myself, and you know, as I encourage everyone to really not push themselves and to be really self-compassionate. I'm sure you know
yeah,
you've made a whole lot of progress with that as well, and maybe
yes,
we could talk
exactly.
about that too.
Yeah,
But yeah, it means that you have that natural, sustainable wellness. Then once you've dealt with the patterns and you know the stressful patterns and the habitual kind of lifestyle stuff, then you're like building, you know, a super healthy lifestyle, and you don't have to worry about it then. Another thing that I wanted to talk about maybe before we talk about self-compassion is how, you know, you've been using the process, and you described how it's feeling automatic for you now. So would you
Yes.
like to discuss that a little bit as well?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So at first, you know, I've used the process. At first, it was how I work with it. So first of all, I committed myself when starting with the program. You know, because I was still at home, not being able to work. I was doing some volunteering work, but so I still had a lot of time. And
Okay.
I think for me, it really worked so well I dedicated every day like 2 to 3 hours to my retraining. Not that I needed to do that, but for me, it was like, you know, I started, at first the process is a bit new. So when I was doing a symptom, so I had like a symptom, I was like, for example, I felt like I felt like stress coming up in my body. As soon as I felt that stress coming up, I turned to the process. And so it's a procedure you do, and when I turn to that procedure every time, at first, you know, you don't have it in your system, so it's something new you have to learn. So and what I did is actually I did a lot of writing, but that's very personal. That's the way I like to work. So I literally wrote down the whole process in full. So I was like,
to learn it.
So it was like I was training for relaxation. So when I was like feeling chronic stress or tension coming up, I was training for relaxation, for having a calm, comfortable body. And I really wrote down every time the whole process myself. That worked well. And so I did that, I think, like for the first 2 weeks. And so after the first 2 weeks, it somehow became automated.
Excellent.
During the daytime. And so I told you as well, last week, so I think we were like in week 8 of the training, I was like getting awake at night, and I somewhere between being awake and sleep, and I was like almost automatically, subconsciously already doing the process in my mind and in my body.
Excellent. Noticing yourself actually doing that unconsciously.
Yeah. And I was really surprised by how fast it gets automated. And that's the nice bit. I think at first you have to put in a bit of an effort.
Yes, of course.
The first couple of weeks. So that's my experience. I really put some effort in the first weeks. And then it just goes automatically, you know. It's like
gets easier and easier.
You feel the benefits, so you don't have to think even about it, because you start feeling benefits. You start having evidence as well. I started having evidence that I could eat other foods again, all those foods, and so it's just
your belief gets stronger and stronger and stronger with that, and then it just everything becomes automated and easy.
Yes, it's like a kind of positive spiral, actually.
Right, excellent. And anything that we repeatedly do, our unconscious mind will store that as a pattern. And so you did that, and then now it's automatic and easy for you. So it's like 4.5 years since I did brain retraining. And now it's still completely automatic. You know, I don't have to like use brain retraining for my health or anything like that whatsoever. I still use maybe once or twice. I might use some brain retraining for something entirely different, just because it's something that's really useful to have. You know, if it was public speaking to a larger group of people or something, or doing something really significant, I might want to use something like that. But it's incredibly useful to have that, and you have that stored in your mind, in your brain, that you can use it at any moment whatsoever. Okay, so what about self-compassion as well? So we were just touching on that. So would you like
Yeah.
to share like how that feels to be so much more self-compassionate?
Yes, absolutely. For me, self-compassion, I already had done some meditation work, some loving kindness meditation type of things, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in the brain retraining and the way you train me, again with this audio support, for me, self-compassion, it got at another level in terms of I could really feel it, like physically, what self-compassion means.
Excellent.
And that was like a big game changer for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was already aware of the concept. I was already aware of what loving kindness, etc., that type of meditations could do.
Yes.
But I was never able to reach or to use that at the physical level. I don't know if it's clear. I'll try to explain. So it's like it's like I could feel. I actually used self-compassion for all of it. For me, self-compassion is like the basis of all of the whole retraining. It's like the fundamentals. The fundamentals. You say that in English? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's like the fundamentals. For me, that was like really a big fundament for me. It was like all other things I was like retraining, relaxation, etc. It was all based on that self-compassion.
Yes.
And so I could really feel the more I trained with that self-compassion, with being very loving and kind to myself. Especially, I had like, and I had never felt that like before. I really felt it in my body, in every cell of my body. I could really feel it. And that was like really a big change.
Excellent, fantastic.
Yeah, and that's where I felt like, it's one of the things I wrote down for. Just I love. It's like feeling the love for your body. Being kind to your body, because I was not aware of it, but actually before starting the training, I was not subconsciously, again, it was not a conscious thing, but subconsciously, I was not that kind from my body,
Okay.
I was like,
as well, yeah.
I was like a bit of a critic from my body. And so by
and the
working,
achiever pattern.
Yeah, because I was being high achiever, pushing myself, pushing, crashing, and so by really installing that self-compassion, it really
game changer.
Changed. Absolutely, it really changed the relationship I have with my body.
Excellent, and that's
in general with myself, in general, not only at the physical level, but for me personally, there was like a big change at physical level as well.
Excellent, fantastic. I know exactly what you're describing. It's a little bit hard to describe it, but the feeling is that you love your body. That's it. It's, how else would I describe it? Really, it's a feeling of like centeredness and balance within yourself, and loving yourself and doing things that are good for you and for your body. Yeah, but it's like being in union with your body, or being like you're a team, working as a team together, rather than working like clash. In the past, I was pushing too much.
Yeah, and that's what I actually did when I started developing chronic fatigue. That's what I did actually. I really got into this very deep, subconsciously, into a very deep conflict with my body. And it's by doing the brain retraining that I got aware of that. And again, there it's like, I think once you've installed it, you never want to lose that again, and it's there. It's even
a fundamental of health.
Exactly, it's automated as well. You cannot it's like it's something you know how to do, so it's there, it's installed.
Yes.
You cannot undo it anymore because
Yeah,
it's so
why
good.
would you? Because it feels great.
You just want to keep it, and you want, and it becomes automated. Yeah.
So something I just want to touch on as well is the achiever pattern. So
Yeah.
just briefly, like, what did you kind of discover about the achiever pattern? So I discovered within my own self that the achiever pattern for me was underneath the wanting to achieve and get all these results and everything was it was kind of a little bit of, I would say, insecurity or wanting to prove that I was good enough. Would you say that you can relate to that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
For me, it was like a very big topic for me. And exactly as you say, for me, until I really got ill, achieving and being a high achiever, being the best, I was not so much competing with the outside world, but I was
Right.
like having a very strong inner competition with myself. I was never happy with what I achieved. I was like, oh, I've done this, I should take it one step further. So this inner competition was somehow literally almost killing me.
Right.
And indeed the pattern, when going, and we worked on that during the brain retraining as well.
Yes.
So for me, underneath it was like how should I say it? It's like a feeling of inferiority.
Yeah.
Of not being secure about myself. So and that it's kind of weird, but because I felt somehow that inferiority, I had to prove to the outside world my superiority.
Yes.
You see, and that was like a weird, once, and that's thanks to the brain retraining, and I got aware of that both, sometimes until recently, I would say until last week, I was like I was keeping myself small, or I was like into this superiority, into this high achiever pattern,
right,
pushing and crashing all the time, which is not very healthy.
Yeah, and it's I realized that when I realized it, then that's when I started to work on the self-compassion. And then another thing that I realized as well is that I was kind of following my mind a lot. I was like, I should do this. I was thinking this to myself, I should do this, and I have to do this, and I have to achieve these results, and then I'll feel good, or then I'll be worthy, or then I'll be enough, But what I realized was I started to, I needed to listen to my heart. So I needed to listen to my heart instead and feel, what is it? Asking myself questions like, what would I love to do right now? And doing those things. And that felt absolutely amazing. And then that combined with the self-compassion meant that was the end of the achiever pattern. Like, it's not, I still want to achieve things, but it's out of a good place and like positive, healthy feelings rather than wanting to prove that I'm enough or something. So in terms of that, how much of a difference would you say that has made to you as well, choosing to do what you love?
It's, for me, it's this, it was like one sentence in the retraining, and it's like, do what you love.
Yes.
And it just stick to me. It came, it just by the fact that you just mentioned it, it's so simple, but so powerful.
Yes, absolutely.
It just came in so powerfully for me. It was like, oh my gosh, of course I should do what I love.
Yeah.
And I realized, I started working on that sentence, do what you love. And then I started, as a result of the retraining, I said, okay, what does that mean for me? And then I realized for myself that I was having this limiting belief that I was not allowed to be relaxed until I had achieved XYZ.
Right, everything. Right.
It's a crazy belief, you know, because of course you will never be relaxed then. So that was like a weird thing to do. I was like, I have to achieve these 3 things first, and only then I can be relaxed.
Right. Or people might say when they achieve all these things, you know, thinking that they have like the excellent job, you know, their career sorted, their family, their home, everything, then they'll be happy, you know.
Yeah.
Or yeah, so our brain can tend to do that sometimes.
Yeah, and then it's like, I was like, no wonder that I was like stressed all the time, you know, if you have that kind of belief.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's, and I wasn't aware of that. It's just by doing the brain retraining that I became aware of it, that I had this belief, which was not useful at all. On the contrary, it was keeping me into that stress response all the time.
Yes. Achieving, wanting more, and then telling yourself that you'll be happy or relaxed when you achieve those things. Amazing. That's phenomenal changes right there. That means that combination of things that you just described, that's complete. That's not only is that wellness, that's also happiness. So
yes,
excellent.
And it still is. It's very transformational. It's like, you know, living a new life.
Yes.
You know, and still building on that, you know, still working on it and still building on it. But it's like it feels like freedom.
Yes, complete freedom and joy as well.
Yeah, and joy. Exactly. Yeah, and fulfillment. It's like, and having the feeling that you can, that you it's not about the achieving. It's about basically what you use as a sentence in the training. It's like, do what you love, and the moment you start to connect with your heart at heart level, no longer work at brain level or at mind level, but start really reconnecting with your heart.
Yes, absolutely.
That I don't know where I'll be ending, but I'm up for a lot of changes in the future.
Excellent, fantastic.
It really gives. It's like I get into my potential. I'm not sure if I'm clear when I say that. So it's like by really using that self-compassion, by getting access again to my heart, and it gives me so much potential. It gives me so much more true power, and through you know, it comes from a whole different place of energy.
Yes, completely different, and that is a perfect segue into doing, you know, in terms of your passion, your career purpose. So how does that feed into your purpose as well? Tuning into your heart.
Yeah, and for me, it's I actually, until 2 months ago, I had some dreams. You know, I was like, okay, I can dream. You know, I have time to dream because, you know, I'm a bit stuck in my house until a couple of months ago, and so I was making like a lot of dreams. So until like 5 or no, in the meantime 6 years, 6.5 years ago, until like 6 years and a half ago, I was working in corporate, and I did love my job, but it was, again, working in a corporate environment is a very, well, not always, but in my specific case, it was a very competitive job, because of the fact, you know, I was programmed that way. You know, I made my job competitive, and so it, you know, I worked in corporate jobs for like 20 years. And, you know, the question I had to ask myself right here, right now, also during the brain retraining, was like, okay, what am I going to do with my life? Because all of a sudden I had that question on the table again. First it was dreams, and it's easy to dream, you know. It's nice to dream. But then there was like no reality to it. I couldn't see a reality to my dreams.
Right.
And by unlocking my heart, and also by it's like all of the things, you know, they all
coming together.
Came together. It it was like working on self-compassion, unlocking my heart, working on my, you know, on living in a relaxed, comfortable body. All of that came all of a sudden together for me.
Yes.
And in like 2 months' time, I realized, wow, I can now really go after my dream. And it's we already had a chat on it during the retraining. For me, one of my dreams is to return to corporate, and then, you know, to teach others, to you know, to live a life of full of health and balance.
Yes.
And yet be flourishing in your job.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because that's
balance.
something, if I would have that kind of person next to me, I would probably never have gone, you know, that far because basically I was doing a lot of self-destructive patterns, looking back at it. And I would never, you know, when I would have gotten that information, that, you know, that type of coach. And it's for me, it's one of it's my biggest dream to become a coach.
Excellent.
And really to kind of link my old life, because, you know, corporate, it's my old life, and I've had, you know, lots of nice times, plenty. I've seen plenty things. I have seen a lot of the world. I traveled a lot, and that was really nice. But it's time now to kind of bring my old life, or take the good bits of my old life, and then build on that my new life. And for me, my new life is like, wow, there's a message. You know, I'm on a mission. I have to tell people, you know, our brain is so, you know, basically what I've done with you, that the brain is so powerful.
Yes, absolutely.
That once you start retraining your patterns, you start retraining your body, the way you think, you start retraining your beliefs. You know?
Thoughts,
and that's it. I'm on a mission there, I guess, and that's the power of the heart.
Yes, excellent. And that feels absolutely amazing. And I know how that feels as well, because I was tuning into that while I was getting better. I didn't know exactly what I was going to be doing, but I knew that I wanted to help people, and I followed that kind of passion, that desire to help people, which was like driven from my heart entirely. My heart knew that I could do those things, and my brain was telling me that I couldn't when I was ill. But, you know, always listen to your heart, because your heart knows best. It does. Your intuition, your gut feeling, going with that is always an excellent thing. And I think asking yourself questions like that, like, what would I love to do right now, or, you know, what would I love to do in any moment, I think is an excellent thing. All right. And so in terms of the brain retraining and the program that you've been doing with me, like, if someone was thinking about working with me, what would you say to them?
Just do it. Take, you know, I would say, I think somehow what I'll just put myself back at the moment where I had to decide, will I do the retraining or not? Will I sign in or not? When I take myself back at that point in time, that's like 2 months ago, or 2 months almost, and I would say there was a bit of resistance in my system. There was like one part of me that was absolutely that again, it was about the gut feeling. Actually, you just mentioned gut feeling, and feeling, you know, and having that feeling and knowing what is right for you, doing what is right for you. So I had one part of me that was thinking, this is what I have to do, you know. I've been following you in CFS Warriors Academy for a while, so I already
Facebook group,
in the Facebook group, so I already knew who you were, and every bit of my gut was telling me, and every bit of my heart was telling me just go and do that training because it's what you need. And there was another part of me that was like, you know, more the inner critic, the more the mind,
whatever. Yeah.
you know, so that was doing resistance. Because somehow somehow at brain level or at mind level, there's resistance. There's like, oh, I don't like change, you know. There was that other part. I don't want to go for change. I'm comfortable now. So somehow even you know, I was actually not comfortable looking back at it.
Right.
But I felt just comfortable enough to it's like no, don't go for changes, you know. You've done so much so many things. And why would we do this? It, you know, you've done so much already.
Right. Kind of feeling like you had done it all, or I remember feeling like that.
I've done it all. I've seen it all. I've you know, I had like quite a good view on what were the options in the CFS world, I would say.
Okay.
And so for me, it's like, you know, for me the message is listen to your heart and your gut and just do it. It's incredible, you know. It's
thank you so much. And you put in all of the effort, so absolutely commend you for all the effort that you put in, and no wonder that you got all the results that you're enjoying now. Incredible. And it's even more incredible to know that you're going to be helping other people as well. That's amazing. That fills my heart with joy as well.
Starting a new adventure.
Excellent. Fantastic. All right. So guys, hope you really enjoyed this. I'm going to be sharing more interviews soon as well. Thank you so much, Alice, for this. If you'd like to learn more about what I do, my brain training program, you can go to thrivingtherapies.com and you can email me at jason@thrivingtherapies.com. Please do share this video with anyone who you think would benefit from it. I think that Alice has shared an incredible amount of useful information and insights in this interview. And I really do share it with people because people need to know that they can actually get better, and actually that it can be quite easy as well. Okay, so hope you enjoy this, and I will speak to you later. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye.